Greetings, fellow sinners. Reprieve here with you once again in another response to Godless Haze, who has made another video in response to a comment that I left, this time on his video, though. The comment I'll put in the description bar below, and I'll try to do what he did. He put the whole comment exchange in there, and I'll try to do the same so that you can get a common frame of reference. I think part of the problem, what I'm going to have with this, is that Haze, I don't want to say took me out of context, but just kind of misunderstood what I said. I was playing a lot of what-ifs, and then he took my what-ifs as some sort of statement that I was making. And I wasn't really making a statement in any way. I was just, what if this, what if that, and if that's, you know, how you think people make statements, then apparently you misunderstand people a lot, Haze. But let's go ahead. Let's address your video. I'll get into it piece by piece here. I'm going to roll you talking here, and I'm going to respond. So here goes.
Basically, he's bringing up Gabrielle Gifford's healing, classifying it as miraculous. I simply stated, well, if we're going to sit around and say that that was miraculous, then why didn't God just jam the gun up? If God would have jammed the gun up, then nobody would have been killed, nobody would have been injured, and she wouldn't have to go through the aftermath of being shot in the fucking head. You know, that would have been definitely a somewhat more of a miracle.
A miraculous intervention would have been if the gun just jammed or didn't work. Okay, well, how about this?
How's it going tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hey, the reason why I pulled you over, that was a turn-only lane that you drove through at red light.
Actually, that was the street lane.
The turn-only lane.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right behind you. I know which lane you were in.
27.
How much have you had to drink tonight?
Plenty.
20? How much? Hold on! Shit! Six 5163.
Go 63.
Shots fired. That. Shots fired. I repeat that. Suspect just crashed into a telephone pole. 90? How much? Hold on! Shit!
I suppose now you're going to have an excuse for why that's not a miracle. And then I suppose when I roll tape on something else that you claim would be a miracle in place of that, then you'll have an excuse for that not being a miracle too, right? Right? Am I feeling you here? Because it's excuse after excuse. You're complaining about people giving credit to God for stuff that they didn't have control over, that they thank God that He took control. But no. Everything else has, there's something else involved. That's probably luck, you know, it's probably just plain old-fashioned luck. That there's so many things that have just been lucky throughout history. It just happens to these particular people at this particular time, at this particular day, maybe when even they were praying for it. But nah, it's just blind luck. Yeah, it's a big problem. It's a huge problem in this world that somebody actually humbles themselves and doesn't take credit for every stinking good thing that happens in their life.
And his response was, maybe God did interfere. Maybe dozens more people were going to be shot, but the aide that risked her life to intervene may have heard a call from God to do something. So we're going to be speculating on that this aide may have heard God's voice in her head telling her, hey, I'm too busy not doing anything about poverty, starvation, disease, and illness, that I wasn't paying attention to that crazy guy who's shooting people. Go stop him for me, would you?
Now, I'm not saying for 1 second that the human being, the woman that intervened and when Loeffner's gun was all jammed up, the woman that intervened and took him down and whatever, I'm not taking credit away from her at all. I was just speculating on what motivated her. If the whole country's allowed to speculate on Sarah Palin putting a little target on her website that nobody goes to anyways, if that had something to do with Jared Loeffner shooting in the first place, if we're allowed to speculate on that, then I'm freaking allowed to speculate on whether or not this woman was inspired by God. you know, basically, I've seen enough here to know what your problem is. Your problem is called the problem of evil, okay? And it's not new. This is as old as the earth is round, dude. Your problem is that you can't imagine a scenario in your mind where a good God would allow bad stuff to happen, right? And since you can't imagine it, that means it ain't possible, right? Right? Am I feeling you here? Well, see, here's the thing. I challenge you to go through and read the Christian Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, and tell me where it says, since there is a God, everything's going to be wine and roses. Where, because there is an all-loving God, that means everything's going to be perfect from here on out. That nothing bad is ever going to happen. That when you give people the gift of free will, that means they're going to automatically use it responsibly. Right? Are you getting me? Can you find me that chapter and verse in the Bible? Because I can read you one after another where God pretty much tells you, no, it ain't going to be wine and roses, because you're surrounded by evil, you're surrounded by sin, you're surrounded by corrupt people who won't even give me credit for when I intervene. Okay, so what do you think? You think that you're a part of the solution, or are you part of the problem? Because I'm feeling you're part of the problem here, bro. So you can sit at home and complain about all the problems in the world, the starving people, the freezing people, and you can sit there on your duff and can't even figure out who to vote for in a regular old election. You struggle with this so much, but yet you can imagine this universe where everything is perfect and beer flows from the waterfalls and all the children have suckers and lollipops and everybody gets along and we all play nice and there's no problems. Well, you can imagine that world, but you can't figure out who to vote for. Am I hearing you correct? Okay, so you're complaining. You're complaining about starving people and freezing people and all these problems in the world. And while you're sitting there complaining that the God that you don't believe exists, this stuff is still happening and you're still doing nothing about it. All right? You're not getting off your butt to do anything. And if you are, I'm going to easily go out on a limb and say you haven't lifted a finger to help another person at all, probably for most of your life. Because if you had, you would know the gratifying feeling that comes along with helping people out that need your help. And you wouldn't be sitting here making videos that are so pessimistic about every single portion of life all the time. I mean, you make videos complaining about how crappy your cell phone service is. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? There's starving people in other parts of the country and you're telling me that you can't get good cell phone service so your life sucks? Really? I mean, for what you spend a year on ice cream, you could feed some of these people. You know what I'm saying, dude? So, okay, so God doesn't exist. That means the responsibility is on you now to get off your butt and go do something.
And then the next line, though, is where it gets good to me. All you know is what did happen, not what could, should, would have happened if there was not a miraculous intervention. A miraculous intervention, again, would have been if the gun just jammed. It just didn't work. Nobody can explain why the gun didn't shoot, but it didn't. And nobody got hurt, nobody got killed, and nobody got any fucking brain damage. That would have been miraculous.
Manny, how much? Hold on! Shit!
I only fail to you because I'm actually because you're sitting right there basically saying that whenever we sit around and say, well, it could have been better, well, we don't know that it could have been better, but I know that it could have been worse if God didn't tell that aid to stop. That's what you're fucking telling me? Fuck you. Now, that's basically it. I just needed to get that out there in video form because it's a big pile of fucking shit, and I think it's goddamn insulting to the people that actually do good in this world when the credit that they deserve is given to an imaginary fucking figure for no good goddamn reason other than to placate to these people's fucking delusions.
Could you explain to me how we know it couldn't have been worse or it could have been better? I mean, really? Every single event could have turned out differently. It could have been better. It could have been worse. 25 people could have got shot. Or the guy, 32 bullets in his gun? 32 people could have taken bullets that day. Or the gun could have jammed up like it did for the cop in the video that I just showed, and nobody could have died. Okay? So we know it could have went better and it could have went worse. Here's the problem. Here's your problem. And I talked about it a second ago, the problem of evil. Picture this. You got a lake, all right? And it's still glassy, perfectly even, no waves, nice smooth lake, right? Little kid throws a pebble into the lake. Okay, the pebble hits the lake, then what happens? Suddenly you don't have a glassy lake anymore. Now you got ripples, and the ripples are going everywhere, and it's changing the whole complexion, if you will, of the lake itself. Now, because of this little event, things on the other sides, on the complete far shores, have changed now. Not a lot. A little, maybe something happened to a fish that got caught in that. Now this fish is caught on a fisherman's hook, and now this fish is food for somebody for a day. All because this little kid threw a stone into a lake and changed things. All right, your problem is all you can see is that stone. Okay, you don't have omniscience, you don't have omnipotence, you don't know what's going to go on for the rest of history, okay, or for the future after what happens. You can't see past that. And not only because we're finite people, but even if we could, even if for some miraculous possibility, like prophets have been given the vision to see past things. They've been told what's going to happen. They can see past that stone, and they can tell the fish that it's going to get caught in the net, or it's going to get caught on a hook if it doesn't do this. But your finite little mind won't see past that, and you dwell on that, and you sit on that, and you've condemned yourself to this meaningless, pointless, and just worthless life because you focus on the pebble and not on the consequences. Okay, picture this. You got three guys, one holding down a small child. The other two are sticking hot pokers in his eyes, right? These little metal skewers into his eyes, okay? And this poor little child is screaming in pain, screaming for them to stop, screaming bloody murder for all intents and purposes. Okay? Now, if that's the information you have, if that's all that you know, then yeah, that sounds like a terribly, horribly cruel thing for somebody to do. Am I right? Are you with me so far? Because hearing that part of the story, yeah, I'm disgusted. But if you add in that this child is bleeding to death from his nasal cavity, and that these men are actually trying to save his life because there's no time for an anesthetic, and that the man holding him down is his father, his loving father who doesn't want his son to die, and that the other two guys are doctors that are doing their best to save his life, well then you got a whole different scenario, right? So the problem isn't that the evil's gone, that it's just that's... Ask the little kid. I'll bet you he'd still tell you the evil exists, right? Because he's screaming, so somebody stops sticking hot pokers in his eyes. But the problem of evil is gone because the intention is good. Okay, now this might be over your head. I don't know you that well. That might be too hard for you to understand. So all I can tell you is because you have a problem with evil has nothing to do with whether or not God exists. Okay? And because you think you can imagine a world where evil doesn't exist, doesn't mean that it's so, and it doesn't even mean that it's possible.
So, with that said, if you decide to respond to this fucking reprieve, please, the only thing I'm going to ask you is, I know you're probably going to sit around and go, oh, look at him in his video, he was just yelling and he's mad, and I can't believe he made another video based on a comment that I left, or any of that shit. Well, your fucking comments are far more insulting than me calling you a dishonest atheist antidote junior motherfucker, but because I have every fucking reason to call you that, because that's exactly what the fuck your comments lead me to believe that you are, because they're full of shit.
And you know what? You have just fallen guilty to the same problem that Nellie Ditto fell guilty to. And that's just complete intellectual dishonesty. She tried to say that me being like my parents would be some sort of insult to me. First of all, being A, completely off base, and B, that would not be an insult to me. So calling me the Atheist Antidote Junior, what, telling me that, hey, you're just like one of your friends. Wow, well, I'm broken-hearted, dude. Whew, man, I'm overcome with emotion. Please don't treat me so bad in the future. I don't know if I can take much more of this. You guys are so insulting. Please, get the freak out of here, you retards. Really? Come on. Grow up a little bit. You want to talk to me? Talk to me. You got a problem with Brock Lolly? Talk to Brock Lolly. He'll talk back to you. He has in the past. Then you disappear. What do you want me to say about it? And what the heck, why are you complaining to me about millions of other people giving credit to God. Why do you complain to me about that? Complain to them when they do it, okay? I don't remember giving credit to God for anything. I asked you some pretty freaking simple questions. I asked you what ifs, and if what ifs are because you think it represents my opinion, maybe you should try asking me some questions back instead of just jumping to conclusions. I'm pretty sure that I've been more than willing to have conversations with you in the past. And if somehow that makes me like Brock Lolly, well then, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Anyways, thanks for watching. Remember that true peace begins with how we treat our children, and God bless. Have a good day.